Hey everyone, can you hear me? And my slides are visible to you all?
Yep.
Oh, hi Kasian. Let's get started. Welcome to Kubernetes new contributor orientation.
You're 5 minutes early.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh no.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
We
Yeah,
usually start about 5 minutes after to let people join it. So.
yeah. My clock that I have is 10 minutes early. That's why I didn't see it.
We're at about time now, so if you want to get started, you can, or you can wait. Either way.
Thank you. Let's get started. Welcome to Kubernetes new contributor orientation. Let's get started. Little bit housekeeping before we start off. We have a few housekeeping items. Firstly, this meeting is recorded and will be published on YouTube. All meetings in Kubernetes communities abide by a code of conduct, which you can find at the link on the bottom of the slide. Basically, it sums up to please be respectful of the speakers and your fellow attendees, and generally be excellent to each other. Please use the chat to ask questions and have discussions throughout this call. There will be a Q&A section at the end where we encourage you to ask questions verbally if you would like to. A copy of these slides are available on GitHub, and the link is also in the meeting invite. We all post the link in the chat now. Note that on GitHub, the slides are provided as a PDF file. The links is in the deck are not clickable as displayed on GitHub, but they should be clickable if you download the file. A little bit about myself. I'm Darshan Murthy, and I've been contributing to Kubernetes for last 2 years. I'm part of SIG contributes and SIG storage, and recently I joined SIG API machinery as well. That's a little bit about myself. Um, Today's agenda, the purpose of this meeting is to orient you in the Kubernetes community. That means giving you a sense for how the community works and what your part is or could be within it. We will start off with a presentation to convey information about the community. Then we will have Q&A section where you're welcome to ask any question you would like of your host today. Hearing the questions that you can ask can benefit anyone watching the recording. So please do ask question verbally during this time if you are comfortable doing so. Let's dive in. Kubernetes community is a very big group of people who work together to create and maintain the Kubernetes project. Just a sense of in numbers. Here are some numbers to give you a sense for which how big the Kubernetes community is. We track data about our contributors via GitHub and a few other contributor tools, and we collect them in the tool called DevStats. This is basically a big database of information about Kubernetes contributions, and you're welcome to explore it yourself. These stats were pulled in November 2024. At that time, we had over 94,000 contributors who had made over 4 million contributions. And all of these contributions are reviewed by just 7.8 thousand people with reviewer privileges. We will talk more about what a contribution might mean and who a reviewer might be a little later in this presentation. Now, before we dive deeper into community, some of you may be unfamiliar with what Kubernetes is and what it does. Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration tool. Hi, Kaslin.
Hi. Just letting you know that someone in the chat mentioned that the pop up is covering some of the slides. I don't know if you can move it kind of out of the way.
Papa. Really?
The little pop up from Zoom in the right hand corner.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
We
Sorry
can
about
see that.
that. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, Now, before we dive deeper into community, and some of you may be unfamiliar with what Kubernetes is and what it does. Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration tool. Open source means that it's made by people around the world. Some of you are paid to work on it, but many whom are volunteers, like myself. And the code of Kubernetes software is publicly available under an open source license that describes exactly who, when, how the software and its source can be used. And the cool thing about Kubernetes does is orchestrate containers. Let's go over what that means in a very brief note. Businesses may have applications that they need to run. For example, they may have a payroll application, logistics application, and company website. These application needs to run somewhere, so businesses have a lot of computers to run these applications on. Kubernetes enable businesses to say, hey Kubernetes, here is the computers I have, and here is the app I need to run. You can describe various levels of details and how that application needs to run or the hardware it might need. And the Kubernetes will run it on a machine for you. It also provides some handy functionalities for managing the application while it's running. For example, it can provide some help for processing of updating the application to a newer version. Exactly how it does all of this magic is what Kubernetes contributors work to maintain and improve every day. Let's learn more about how contributors build Kubernetes by exploring our community structure. This is very important. Kubernetes is an open source project within Cloud Native Computing Foundation. The CNCF is a non-profit organization which is stated mission to make cloud native ubiquitous. To this end, they support many open source projects that enables companies to run applications in the cloud. The CNCF provide a variety of guidance and support to its project, including legal supports, code of conduct, help with logos and copyrights, and more, much more actually. The pyramid shows the CNCF represents the structure of Kubernetes communities. At the top, interfacing the most with the CNCF and presiding over the various topics that affects the entire community and project is the steering committee. This is a body of 7 members who are elected by Kubernetes org members. We'll go over more about what org membership means shortly. With a project so large, there are so many different concepts within the project that needs unique skills, knowledge. For example, the way Kubernetes nodes, where the workloads are run, do what they do is one area of expertise. Meanwhile, challenge of writing and maintaining Kubernetes docs needs folks with different expertise. People who work on specific area of project gather together what is called SIGs, right? Earlier in the host slide, I did say that I'm part of SIG storage, right? For example, I'm part of storage where we focus on the storage aspect of Kubernetes, and also now I'm part of API machinery, so where we focus on the tags and the validation part of Kubernetes. And for example, Caslin, she works with mostly the contributs and much more. Sometimes, however, there are very big area that needs attention that are both very significant and cut across. Sometimes they're split out into what we call working groups. Our working groups are generally temporary, created to address specific issue, then meant to disappear, a focus once the group of topic is sufficiently addressed by ongoing six work. A defining characteristics of WGs is that generally don't own any code or feature, at least not in the long term. WG work either is or will owned by one or more SIGs by the time the SIG dissolves, unless the WG becomes a SIG, which happens occasionally. But even the work of one SIG can be quite broad in scope. There can be hundreds of contributors to a single SIG, so the SIGs further break down their work into sub-projects. For example, in our storage world, we have about 18 different projects that cater to Kubernetes. It could be the external provisioner or it could be a CNCF nodes. So like that, we have 18 different sub-projects apart from Kubernetes. So that's what we are trying to say here. Currently, there are about 24 special interest groups, 7 working groups, and 3 committees in Kubernetes community. Some groups operate at the project level, and other work in the project depends on them. Some groups work at the horizontal level, meaning that they have technical focus that is both deep and broad and own core functionalities from the project architecture perspective. Vertical groups have deep and specific technical focus that depends on the work of the horizontal group. And of course, horizontal and vertical group depends on the work of the project groups. Fantastic. Here is a diagram of SIGs and working groups currently active in Kubernetes project. As you can see, this is a lot, right? To call out just a few SIG release and docs of the group who work you might be familiar with, they operate at the project scope, right? You can see in the top the project scope. Though you may not have known it, you have probably encountered the work of SIG API machinery and SIG auth group before. For example, I'm part of SIG machinery. We consider these as the horizontal groups, and in vertical groups, you can also find a lot of familiar concepts like auto-scaling, scheduling, networking, and all. So these are the concepts that you will get familiarized over the period of time. You might want to refer back to this diagram later. You're exploring groups to contribute to. Feel free to ask questions about these during Q&A or in the chat now. But for now, we are going to move along, talk more about the contribution. Wow, this is fantastic. Why contribute? Now that you've learned the basics, how the community is structured, let's start exploring where you fit into all this. And firstly, let's briefly explore why you might want to contribute. This is one of the most important slide in this presentation. There are many reasons why people contribute to Kubernetes. For some, job requires contributing. There are also some contributors who work with community on purely volunteer basis. There are also those who somewhere in the middle where their work needs them to contribute sometimes, but they also do extra work for community outside of their job. Right? So why do so many people contribute without getting paid? They may want to grow specific skill for their resume, or maybe they want to meet people working in the industry. Maybe they just think the technology is cool. They want to dive deep and help build it, right? Let me give you all my own experience. I started 2 years ago, and I primarily started with SIG storage. Over the period of time, why I personally wanted to contribute is that the love of contributing with other people, right? Kubernetes is a vast and technically challenging place. Every little piece is designed so beautiful that as an engineer, it's a thrill to just be part of something as big as Kubernetes. I'll give you one quick example. So recently in API machinery, we are migrating all our validation piece, entire validation in all across the concepts that nodes, network, everything. We are migrating from regular validation based to tag based, right? It's a huge effort. It can't be done with one, two people. About 50 different engineers are working together to make this happen, where we don't want any handwritten validation anymore. We will go by tag validation. So I mean, one of the thrill is to be part of something as big as this. And I kid you not, this is used across the world. And if you have written even one line of code, which is in Kubernetes, that means that millions of people are touching your code. So this is one of the reasons why I am part of Kubernetes. Sorry, you have any question? Okay. You should also think carefully about why you want to contribute. As you get more engaged with community, you'll get more out of it. If you can cleanly tell people what you want, if others know who you are, what you want, what you can do, they can also more easily help you find work opportunities, connections that will most benefit you. This is very important. So in my own journey, when I started contributing, there were times where I was lost in finding what I really wanted to do. So it does take few trial and error to just figure out what you're really good at and how you can contribute to the community. Regardless, if you're interested in contributing, you're probably wondering what it means to be a contributor, right? The answer to the question of what it means to be a contributor, let's first explore what might count as a contribution, right? The truth is, any work that you do support Kubernetes project is a welcome and valued contribution to the community. That sounds broad and vague, but it's important. There's a lot of work contributors do behind the scenes to make this project run. It's certainly not writing code and making pull requests on GitHub. This is very important. A lot of people think that contribution means they have to raise a request on a PR request and get it merged. That's just not all it, right? Like this slide says. That said, it can certainly help to have some examples. Here are the few might have thought of, or some of you might not have. For example, did you start off by posting hello message in Kubernetes node, new contributors channel in the Kubernetes Slack? That's a contribution. You have commented on an issue or a proposal for a new feature to share your thoughts or opinion. That's a contribution too. Even watching or attending this meeting right now is a contribution. So pat yourself back on the back for contributing. As a community, we try our best to acknowledge and appreciate contribution to the community and in many forms. But if so many vague and varied things can count as a contribution, then what does it mean to be a contributor? There are varying levels of being contributor. You might remember our slide earlier where we mentioned contributors and reviewers. These slides dive into more details on what those terms mean. Starting at the bottom, anyone can be a contributor if you do any of things mentioned in the previous slide and more. You're already a contributor. If you contribute to a community in any way, then you might be what we call non-member contributor. This means that you pop into community and contribute occasionally in a small disconnected way. That's okay too. But if you want to get into involved with the community, you might want to go for org membership. Org membership refers to a member of Kubernetes organization on GitHub. Being an org member gives you higher privileges to interact with the tools contributors use to do their work, like Prowbot in GitHub that helps apply, label, and configure issues using GitHub Commons. In my own journey, when I started requesting PRs, I was a non-member. I was not a member. One of the issues was I couldn't run tests, right? I belong to storage and API missionary where we run extensive tests. So when I requested PRs, I had no privilege to run those tests. So then I applied for org membership and then I got approved. Now that I have extra privilege to run those tests. So I don't have to rely on others to run the test automatically when I request for PRs. So you might be ready to become an org member with the contributors you want to work regularly, are familiar with your work, and will vouch for your sponsor on your request for membership. So you need a bunch of people to give you sponsorship to be able to approve as a member. Beyond becoming a R member, there are increasing level of trust, ownership, responsibilities that you could choose to pursue. Once you have been engaged in any area for a while, you might have enough knowledge to help review contribution or pull requests from other contributors. So this is very important slide. Eventually, you might be trusted enough to have a final say on whether some code is merged or a contribution is accepted and displayed on something like Kubernetes.io website. Then you would be an approver. If you become a strong expert in a specific area who is highly trusted and regarded for your expertise, you might take on a new responsibilities. You might become a person others come to with questions. You might lead triad sessions or other work for the area. At that point, you might be a sub project owner. This is increased responsibility. As you see it, as you up in the ladder, the responsibility as you see it's increasing. It's a little bit more work. If you're an expert who starts leading things in that area, you might also take on responsibility from various resources within that area and how they relate to other parts of the project. For example, you might take responsibility for readme file defining whole sub project, which is where people would go to learn about it. And you might become a contact person for triage requests from other part of the project. At this point, you might be a sub project lead. If you're leading a whole sub-project, there is a considerable chunk of work within SIG. You're probably interacting and collaborating with the leads of other sub-projects, and you're probably developing pretty strong sense of the mission, describe an ongoing work of the SIG as a whole. At that point, you become a chair or a tech lead for an entire special interest group. For example, Castellan, right? She's a chair for Contrabex. If you remember our community structure diagram from earlier, you might be wondering, if I become a member of a steering committee, if I become a member of the steering committee would be the next step. But steering is an elected position. You can actually run for steering at any point past or membership, but you will be more likely to get elected the better the other contributors know you and your work. This is very important. The ladder might seem like one true path in contribution. This is one of the best slide that all should really understand this. The ladder might seem like one true path contribution, but I want to remind you that there is no single path for your contributor journey. Everyone's journey is different, right? For example, my journey is different and your journey is definitely different. Most contributors end up contributing multiple areas of project. Some people even develop ownership in the different six at the same time. Just because you're learning and contributing in one SIG doesn't mean that you can't check other out. Remember, most contributor or at least partially volunteers. Almost everyone contributing is doing because they love it. So look around and what you'll find what you love and do that. This is a very important slide because when you start entering into Kubernetes world, you might be overwhelmed by a lot is going on. I think I would really recommend you all attend multiple SIG group meetings and see what really clicks. Now, how to start contributing? Now you know the basics of how community is structured, how you might fit into. As we have established, you might already be a non member contributor, but if you want to do more to contribute, let's explore where you can start. Fastest way to learn and make yourself useful will be find the SIG that suits your interest and just start getting involved there. That might not mean immediately picking up an issue and writing code. Often getting involved means attending meeting, reading notes, existing issues, and generally just getting an idea and the feel of the group. This is very important. I keep telling folks who want to contribute Kubernetes is that just attend multiple SIG meetings. We have so many SIGs, like I mentioned early on. Pick and choose that's one closest to your skill set. That just helps and gives you more context and interest, and you will develop more interest over the period. That start attending the meetings would be a good start. And once you start attending the meeting and jot down the issues that they discuss and the contacts that you develop over the period, and then start slowly and steadily start picking up one or two small tasks and contributing and see how you feel. And that's not end of the world. If you don't like it, of course you can move on to the different sig and see, dabble around and figure out what really connect to you. Stay up to date on what's going on in the community. You will want to join the Slack and Kubernetes developer Google groups. There are two tools are the primary ways community does asynchronous work and receive announcements. Let's learn how you can learn about the SIG so you can find groups that are doing work relevant to your interest. And some more, find out the information about all the SIG. This is one repository that we have, Kubernetes community, and a little more information about SIG and working groups in the K community. All right, when you click on the SIG folders in community repo, you will show the folder. You will see the folder called README. In the folder, you will find README. At the top of this file, you will find brief summary of the SIG's focus area and likely a link to their more details about the team chapter and what they're interested in, broad idea. And below is a summary of the group. You will find information about the group meets, and attending meetings is often is a great way to learn more about the group structure and what they're discussing and issues and etc. You will also find more information about the six leadership. Most of the six have both a concept of the chairs and technical leads. These leaders are at the same level of the trust and the responsibility, but likely to own different style of tasks and supporting SIG. Chair tend to do more management type of work, while tech lead tend to do more architectural and managing repos, certain kind of technical decisions and processes. You'll find contact information for the SIG, and most SIGs in the Kubernetes do a lot of asynchronous communication. And this is about the mailing list. And you will find more information where the find the issues and PR related to that SIG, the other information like GitHub team that are part of SIG. This is very important. Also, every contributor should join Kubernetes dev group, KDev. It is also known as KDev. This mailing list is the primary communication channel for important contributor information. Check out that SIG folder where you lots of information about specific SIG, but also what if you want to find out information about all SIGs meeting. We also have community calendar. Now that you know how the community is structured, where you could fit in, how to start learning more, you might also want to know if there is any actively open work you could pick up and become part of. This is we call evergreen opportunities. And some more. Evergreen opportunities are great because they represent the work that always needs doing. Right. Some of the evergreen work from my part of the six are, for example, that we have this documentation, maintaining the documentation and upgrading each component in the storage world, right? And we are constantly evolving. There is always upgrade. We do the go upgrade for every release, and in every release, we need folks to upgrade on all other subsystem which is using that particular Go version. So you will always find this type of work, and this is about the SIG API declaration validation subprojects. I think this is what I was talking about, where there's a lot of work going on. Enable declarative validation for APIs, which I'm part of, where we are migrating the entire fleet of validation, handwritten validation across all our concepts that we have in Kubernetes, from node all the way from node to storage. We are migrating the tag based validation to tag-based validation from handwritten validation. So there's a huge work going on. So if you look at that PR that's listed here, enable declarative validation for APIs, there is a lot of work that's been listed there. This is one more new opportunities about CEL expression support for tolerance and node affinity, which is in the six scheduling. They're looking for folks to take up this issue as well. Current call for help. This slide lists the help that requires certain skills. If you're familiar with the tools and skills listed, please reach out for the website maintenance, monitoring, project management. We also have a Electro. It's a homegrown software to run election for Kubernetes. This also needs help. And some more. So, SIG SIG testing, and some more. SIG network, SIG release, and SIG security. As you may notice, there's just a lot of work that needs to be done, and they definitely need a lot of people. Just not for contributing. Once you start contributing and developing that knowledge over the period of time, you will become an approver, reviewer, approver, and then you will have the complexity of the role will increase, and also you will have great time over the period. Finally, the common contribution pitfall. This is one of the important slides that I definitely want to share with you all because it is one of the important part of the presentation. The common contribution pitfall is falling into good first issue trap. The scenario goes something like this. You're a new prospective contributor. You're excited to make your mark on the community. You find an issue with a good first issue label on the GitHub. You think, great, I'll claim the issue and write some code, and I will have contributed to Kubernetes. Unfortunately, let's back up a step. Once you pick up that good first issue, how are you going to complete it? Also, it's very important to choose good first issue that you can complete it, right? You don't randomly choose something that's just because it's good first issue. Pick up the task that you think you know some of it and you are capable of finishing it. As I mentioned earlier, that Kubernetes communities uses tools like Browbot to help us manage issues. Are you familiar with the board? It's fine if you're not. Maybe you will just start writing code. Those reviewers, approvers, owners who are mentioned will appear to make sure that issue has the right label stuff on it. Once you've written your code, you will need to get their attention to review your PR. Remember, there are a lot more contributors than there are reviewers. When you make your PR, reviewers and approvers will automatically assign. But if there are issues in your code, you might need to go back and forth with reviewers on GitHub. Are you comfortable using comments and pull requests to see the work through the completion? This is one of the mindset that somebody people who are willing to contribute should have. Once you request your PR, it's gonna go through the cycle of peer review cycle. In the sense, people will ask questions, and you should be comfortable in taking those feedback and incorporating, and at least making a conversation at the very least. Most good first issues that you get picked by new non-member contributors will never make it to completion. This is the sad part. The code never gets checked in, and the community has all these tail issues and PR sitting around for work we really needed done, but the person got lost and ended up abandoning their contribution halfway. Then those reviewer, approvers, owners have to go through the process of triaging the issues and opening it again. So whatever else that might need to do with. You can avoid getting stuck in the trap by joining the SIG and sticking with it. This is very important. There is one aspect of getting your PR reviewed and merged. That's one aspect. So there is other aspect where you put in work in understanding the SIG, and once you understand the SIG, and then you really know the issue that they're trying to solve. Once you know the issue and you already know the solution, at this point, you write code and then request for peer review. You see the process? You don't do the other way around. You don't write code first and then figure out the things. So, first, you work with the SIG team, you're part of the SIG, and then you're part of their meetings every day, and you really understand the issue. What is the issue in the hand? So once you understand all of that, it all takes a lot of time. Once you have a good grip on the issue, and then you start adding your code and requesting for the PR. At that point, you already know what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing, it becomes very easy to get your PR reviewed and merged. All right, this was a lot of information today. This is just the orientation meeting. When you join your first SIG meeting, you're probably going to be overwhelmed. You have to be very mindful of this, that this is a lot to get started. So, a lot of SIG meeting exists for active existing contributors to collaborate with each other on active in progress work. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't join as a new contributor. This is the best place to learn Kubernetes, to join their meetings and then just listening what they're talking about and what are the issues that they're discussed and how their peer review process, and slowly and steadily you developing that knowledge base yourself. And once you're equipped enough to request a PR and handle an issue, and you go ahead and raise a PR request, and of course we have lot of experts in Kubernetes across art, where they'll give you really good reviews, feedback about your code, and then you discuss, and then you start improving, and at some point you'll get approved and then get merged into Kubernetes, and that's the whole cycle for developers. Of course, I'm a developer myself, so it's this would be typical coder journey. Kubernetes community is a big, diverse place. It's diverse in terms of people, skills, technologies, and so much more. It might take you a while to find a place that clicks with you. It's very important. There might be a particular SIG or sub project where you find more opportunities to build the skill or connections that's most important to you. Don't forget that you can move around, explore other groups within the project. Most contributors end up contributing in multiple area, and many find a particular area that they dive deep on. No two contributors have same journey, so you will need to explore and find best place for you. Regardless which area you explore, we need your help, and we are glad you're here. And some more resource here, and question and Q&A. Any questions, comments? Somebody raised hand. Hi, Stephen.
Hi. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much for chairing the meeting. This was really helpful. I'm interested in joining Docs, and I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I'm new to Kubernetes, and I'm uh, doing a master's degree studying technical writing, and I'm trying to expand my skills, meet members of the community network, and I think the technology is cool, but it's very new to me. So I have a couple questions. One is, what resources do you recommend for learning more about the program and the system in addition to attending meetings, which I plan to attend to the docs meetings? Learning resources that you recommend, um, mini versions of Kubernetes that you recommend that I could run on my own machine to test docs, and then also, are there individual people in docs that you recommend that I could reach out to who are available to talk to new people? So learning resources, mini versions, and good people to contact in docs.
That's a great question. I think Caslin would be the right um, person to take that question because she's actually involved with the sick dogs. Um, Caslin, hi. Just a second. Let me see. Yeah, well, busy, I guess. But one way to, if you want to get involved with the sick dog, in Slack channel, we do have a group. You can ask your question there, and in that group, you will definitely get answer. Let me pull up about the sick dogs, right? Okay. Let me pull up the channel name. Oh yeah, so we have sick dash docs dash dog group blog where you can ask your question. There is also sick docs hash sick dash docs. While I do that, I see there are so many interesting related to docs. There is also sick docs tools, security docs. There are so many. So maybe you can ask your question in the sick docs, and then they will definitely get back to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Abhishek.
Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for the
Hey.
presentation. Really enjoyed it. I think a couple of questions. So one is, how do you, are there any specific sort of CLAs and stuff we have to go through to get into contributing? And is there like some documentation around that that describes that? I think I saw some of that, but I wasn't sure if that's the right thing. So would be helpful if you could link that in the presentation or just drop it in the chat here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you have to get NDA from CNCF, where I think you have to register your email ID, username with them. So whenever you make any contribution, the Git essentially the GitHub runs with the people who are listed. So if you're not listed, it will mark that you're not CNCF NDA is not signed. Is
Got it.
what you know. So that one thing. It's not on the top of my head. I remember doing it. It essentially takes you to the CNCF website and it asks you to sign a bunch of documents.
Yeah, I think it's now like a PR into Kubernetes contributors or something like that. One of the
Yeah,
sub-repos.
it's not the PR. When I
Okay.
did it, no, I think once you request for the PR, it will automatically show up. You can go and sign
Yes.
it there,
Yes.
right?
Yes. That's
At that
that's
point,
what.
you can sign
Um,
it there.
okay.
That's what I did.
All right. And that's pretty much it. Was there anything else to it or
That's pretty much it. There's
got
nothing
it?
else. Because that point, you're already the member of CNCF, or at least